Hey, what's up YouTube? Your boy Chris in the Caliente garage. In this video, I will be addressing the front fork seal leak that I've been having on my 2016 Honda Goldwing. If you watch my previous video, I talked about discovering the fork seal leak on my Honda Goldwing. I also talked about the warranty. I was uncertain if I wanted to take it to the dealer to let them make the repairs, or if I wanted to make the repairs right here in the Caliente garage. I mentioned that even though the Honda Goldwing is under warranty, that the dealership wanted to keep my Honda Goldwing 4 to 6 weeks just to make the repairs on the front forks. After posting the video, a lot of you responded and said that I should make the repairs myself. And many of you said that since my Honda Goldwing is under warranty and I have a second bike to ride, just let the Honda dealers make the repair. Well, I came to the decision that I was going to be making the front fork seal leak repair right here inside of the Caliente garage. I will be bringing in a special guest to help rebuild the forks right here in the Caliente garage. You've seen them in many of my videos, and I decided to bring them in the Caliente garage to help me rebuild my forks. So prior to his arrival, I'm going to remove the front wheel. I'm going to be removing the brake lines, the brake calipers, and anything that's attached to the forks of the Honda Goldwing. Once I get everything removed off of the front of the Honda Goldwing, only then we can lower the front forks. If you would like to see my step-by-step video on how to remove the front wheel or remove the front brakes from a Honda Goldwing, click on the link at the top of this video. This is not going to be a step-by-step video on how to remove all of the components that are attached to the front forks, but it should give you a good idea on all of the components that must be detached and removed from the front forks before the front forks could be lowered. So now that I have the front wheel and the brake calipers removed from the front forks of the Honda Goldwing, nothing is attached to the front forks at this time. The calipers are hanging with these caliper hangers that I picked up. And I use these caliper hangers to actually take pressure off the brake lines when the calipers are being hung in mid-air. So at this point, nothing is attached to the right and left front forks. So to drop the front forks, I have a couple of 12mm screws on the bottom that needs to be loosened. One here. The same on the other side, one here and one here. And then we need to go top side to unloosen the other 12mm bolt. So looking at the top of the Honda Goldwing, I'm going to attempt to drop the forks without removing the plastic cover over the ignition switch. And basically it's a plastic little cover. If I lift up, you'll see the big screw at the top, and then you also have a 12mm screw on the side. And once I loosen the 12mm screw on the top and the two on the side, then I can go ahead and slide out the front forks. So I'm going to attempt to access those bolts. As you guys can see, that big bolt on the top, and then you have a 12mm screw right there on the side. So I'm going to attempt to drop the forks from the Honda Goldwing without having to remove the speaker grill. Got a special guest in the Caliente garage with me. My man Goldwing came all the way up to help your boy Chris out with his fork seal leaking. So we got Dustin out here in the garage with me, aka Goldwing, and he's going to be kind of walking us through how to get the forks off of the front of my 2016 Honda Goldwing so we can deal with this fork seal leak. So what's going on, Dustin?
Not too much. So first thing y'all want to do is, if you got your forks, you got this nice lift like Chris has to get your bike up in the air. You want to get up in here on these there's a little bolt in here, a little bolt that comes up. Number 6, you want to make sure it's nice and tight. Sometimes these things are really tight. You come straight up through the bottom of the fork First thing you're gonna do is you want to get that broke loose. Don't take it all the way out because then you have stuff everywhere. That's it right there. So that's broke loose.
All right.
And then come up here. Now, what you can do, if you don't have it up, you can put it in a bench vise as well and clamp on down here onto these areas somewhere like that just to hold it still. And that'll keep everything nice. Keep it from moving.
Okay. So you're saying before you take the forks off, you want to make sure that you break the bolts on the bottom.
Yep.
Before you remove it.
This one here, it doesn't want to do it.
Let me help you hold it, Dustin.
Yep. We're gonna have to get. So this is the other one. That's what you can put up in a bench vise too.
Hold on. So we're not taking the bolts out. We're just kind of loosening the bolts.
A little bit of loosen on it. That's where you want to get that. Now, see if we're tricky enough without taking all this top out.
So basically what we've done at this point, Dustin has loosened the top, and now we got 2 bolts on the bottom, and he's gonna see if he can just pull it out.
And there we go.
All right.
As you can see, this is the area from here up. It's okay if you get little nicks or little dings or something's okay, but down here you keep that real clean.
Right.
Because that's where it actually rides. You want to make sure you don't get no problems there.
As you can see, my man Warwagon has out the leaking left fork
Go.
seal.
Yep, and it got a leak to it. All right, now we're going to want to drain this. Oh, no, we're going to want to loosen that bolt. There you go, that bolt
So
right
you
there.
actually got to.
Yeah, and you got to make sure that's a good 6mm. If you got the wrong tool, it's going to strip, and then you're going to have all kind of problems getting that out. There we go.
It's always good to have another set of hands anytime you're working just yourself. It makes it a little bit more challenging, but if you have another set of hands, it makes the job a lot easier.
Okay. And sometimes it's tight. There we go. All right. So now, and there is a spring here, so you got to be prepared so it don't shoot you in the face. It helps if you got table.
So you want to hold pressure down on the cap when you're loosening the top cap from the fork. As Dustin say, it will shoot off and hit you in the face.
There we go.
Okay, now Dustin has a cap off.
Then
We need
you
to.
gotta. Yep, it's old. Thing. It sits on top of your spring, so you can pull this out.
Okay.
Just set it to the side.
Does it matter which end goes in first?
No, it doesn't matter. It's just a spacer. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter which way it goes. Then we can come up here and drain all that fluid out so it doesn't get all over the floor. And the spring is going to want to slide out. Now, Chris has progressive springs in here, as you can see. It's got a larger gap at the top and a smaller gap at the bottom. That's so as you hit the smaller the bumps are, you've got them little ones to help keep it going, and then as you get to a bigger spring, it just compresses. So it's a lighter and smaller. Somebody's upgraded those. I don't remember those being stock. Could be though.
Now looking at that spring, which end goes in first?
So the tight end.
The tighter end goes in first.
Tighter end goes to the bottom.
Okay.
Squirt a little bit of that down in there. And dilute your oil a little bit, and then you're gonna cycle this on. I know y'all probably can't hear that, but we're just gonna cycle that oil in and out of that spring down, or the dampener. There we go. Now pour the rest of it out. See, it's quite a bit in there. I didn't spray that much brake clean in there.
Right.
And if you get some action on that. All right, after you get that cycle and get most of that out, then you come up in there and take this screw out the bottom.
Okay, so now you're taking the screw out.
And it wants to.
You need me to hold it? Hold it.
No, that's good. See if we can get more come out of there. There you go.
I'll get some more paper towels.
And it has a washer that goes on there. So lay that down there with that. And then, that's why I said this gets very messy real quick, as you can see.
As you can see, this is a messy job.
That's why I try and get most of that out as you can. Now, after you got all that, you can flip this back up. Looks like it's got it all cleaned out. All right. Then, take your dust seal out.
Take the dust seal out.
And this is where you need, you can see right down in here, you got this little clip. So you can kind of get up in there. You'll see there's some different openings. It's got these little grooves. You just kind of reach down into a little groove with your screwdriver and pop it up like that. Come over to the other side and pop it up. There you go. And that back side. You just lift that clip out of there. Alright, now the trick to getting this seal out, if you've never done that before, is to be a man about it. You just gotta pop it a few times. It'll start to slide out. There you go. And it gets the inside all cleaned out. And then we can just take and set this to the side because nothing else is draining out of that.
Okay.
And you can see down here how this works. There's your bushings. Now, you see there's the old seal.
Old seal.
And if you look at it, it's got the, you kind of see how it goes just to show people. So that's the top. And the bottom has the large little opening thing. So it's, you got to make sure which way these are going. Usually the writing and stuff goes to the top.
Okay.
And that's just, don't need that one anymore.
We're not going to use that anymore.
And then you got a bushing that all your stuff sits on here. Little brass thing. And then you got your bottom down here. So you got a spacer here. Then you get another little scraper thing here and all that part. So you can pull all this off.
Let me see those.
Now which one goes to the top and to the bottom? The shiny goes to the bottom.
Trying to go to the bottom. I'm gonna sit it down just the way it came off the bike.
And then this is your upper bushing that goes in.
All right. Upper bushing.
And then down here you got your lower bushing. There we go. Oh, almost. That's pretty tight. There we go.
And so since these are the older parts, it's not a real big deal because we're going to be replacing the bushings and the seals.
And then you just kind of start wiping stuff up, clean things up a little bit. All right, now since this one had a leak, we're going to inspect it real close.
All right.
And you want to see if you can see any big scratches or gouges. It looks like just normal wear. I'm not seeing anything because your seal rides right in this area up in here.
Right.
Pretty much right through there. So that's the areas we want to clean up. And what I do, I'll take a little 2000 grit sandpaper and just put a little dip in there like that. There we go. I'm gonna just wrap this around and just to sand that and get that cleaned up a little bit. And you'll see this 2000 grit works real good for this. It's perfect. It'll clean this whole tube up.
Keep it nice and shiny.
That's right. Come all the way down to just about these holes. And while you're checking that, make sure you don't feel no grooves or nicks or anything strange in there. If you do, you got a bad tube. If you can actually feel it, it's bad.
So if it's got a pretty bad nick in it, would you recommend replacing it or would you recommend just sanding it?
If it's got a nick that's so bad that you can feel it after you wet sand it, you're not going to get new ones. It's going to leak all the time. This one, I don't feel anything. Now, Chris, how many miles did you have on this before you?
75,000 miles.
75,000. Chris be riding, y'all. 75,000 miles before it leaked. And I can see why. That's why it's important when you wash your bike and you clean your bike, check that fork tube too. Make sure you're getting that nice and clean.
Yeah, I generally try to keep it clean. Now let me ask you this question, Dustin. 75,000 miles, do you think that's pretty good for that seal to last that long, or do you think it was about time for it?
I think that's great. I'm not sure what Honda recommends, but I've done quite a few of these. I've done it twice on my bike. When I bought it, I think it had 54,000 on it when I bought it.
Okay.
It was starting to leak. So I think I replaced it around 60 or 65. So that's better than you got 10,000 more miles than that one did.
Okay.
And then I hit a big pothole one day and it popped the seal. It blew it. So then I had to replace it again. And I upgraded my suspension after that.
Okay.
All right, that feels pretty good right there. As you can see, that 2000 grit cleaned that up real nice.
Yeah, that's actually real slick, real fine.
Trick is put a little oil on there. Get that wet dry, put some oil on it. When you do that, you don't want to do it dry.
Yeah, I noticed how you use the used oil with the 2000 grit sandpaper.
Yep. Then, this is direct from the Honda dealer.
What's that part number on that? 51490-MCA S41. And this is for the left fork.
Correct. It's for the left fork because it has this extra little seal in here. And you got your new dust cover.
Yeah, it goes at
And
the top.
then you got this. If you look at this, you'll see you got all your little NGK, you got all your little numbers on here.
Right.
That goes to the top. The bottom has no numbers. So when you put this in there, it goes in with the numbers facing up.
Okay.
I think. Oh yeah, look, got a little instruction sheet. It's got a circle clip marking, tells you everything goes, tells you how all this works out. Now, this little piece right here, we took these off earlier. Set this up. This one on top. We're gonna clean this up a little more. I just don't like putting stuff together dirty. But it has a rounded beveled type edge.
Okay.
And it's got a flat up here. So if you feel it, I don't know if y'all can be able to see that in the camera, but when you feel it, it's a little bit rounded. That goes down. Okay, it goes in the tube. So it goes like that. The flat part faces up. That's your top one. Then you got this seal right there. And see how it's got a little groove in there?
Right, and I see the grooves that's on there.
Right, so your new little part, when it's got the grooves in there, it basically can only go one way. So we'll
That's some
take
fresh towels right there too.
Yeah.
I need 'em.
Just to clean this a little bit. See, that bottom one usually stays real good. So put this on there. There we go. That one is ready to go back in. That can be junk. And then you got this top one. And it's rough. And since I just can't stand it, we're going to take and clean that flat side a little bit. It does not really matter. It's just, that's me. I'm just a little OCD on stuff.
Right.
I just want to clean the surface of it, inside and outside, so when it goes back in, we know it's clean. There we go. Because this has no purpose other than just being a spacer, and it sets against the
Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks
Yep.
pretty clean.
That cleans it up, and then that part will set right up on top of there, and go back in. Now, we can put that bushing on, which we have an upper and a lower bushing. I'll take these out. So your lower bushing is a 51414 MFR 671. They got the same number. That's weird.
So we're using those the lower bushings, and they're gonna be the same for the.
Oh, sorry, I mixed them up. I was gonna say, well, they got the same partner. See, that's what happens. So your lower bushing is a 51415, and the upper bushing is a 51414.
Okay.
You can tell when you open these up by the width.
The fatter bushing at the bottom.
Right, because you'll be able to see it goes in there. You really can't get these mixed up. Gloves keep your hands clean, but don't do much for getting stuff out of plastic. There you go. See, there's you can tell the difference right there. It's just it's not gonna fit in that groove.
And that's your.
This is your lower bushing.
Yeah.
There we go.
So hold them side by side. You can kind of see the difference. So you got
Yeah,
the upper
so you got the
bushing is the
breast.
smaller one,
Right.
and then the bigger bushing is the lower.
And the upper, if you notice, it's a little bit larger inside diameter. This one's got a little smaller. It's actually inside diameter is almost the size of the outside diameter on this one.
Okay. So bigger bushing on the bottom for your lower.
Yeah. Now, you can take and put this on from the top or from the bottom, either one. It just spreads apart a little bit. If you want to come up here, you just spread it apart and pull it over. But I usually like to take and do it from the bottom. Just spread it out a little bit. And it'll slip right on. And it snaps into place and ain't going nowhere.
All right.
And that's it. That's all you gotta do, put that back together. Now,
That's your lower bushing.
take and clean this off a little. Okay. Then you slide this. Let's clean this out a little bit more. And I should spray this down inside. Just want to get that clean to get everything out. Clean the outside a little bit. And when you look in here, that surface right here, that's where that inside bushing is going to sit. That upper bushing sits right in there in that little block. And you have to slide that back in there. There we go. Get that little bushing set up. Again, make sure you got this set on there right, the flat side up. All right, now, we're ready for that to go back in there. First, and then these go down. Yeah, bushing goes in first because it goes inside those. It sits right there in that lip, and then these go on top of the bushing. Second, everything lines up. I don't feel no burrs. Everything look good. Got your top one goes in. Sit down in there. Get this back into place.
So you drop the bushing down in there, and then the seal on top.
Right. Then you can put the screw back in at the bottom, or you can get this set up first. We're gonna go put this in first. Then it's got this little piece you can put on, and this is adjustable for different sizes. You can go with a real small fork, or you can do like the Goldwing, which is larger.
Right.
And it just sits right down inside there. So now that that's sitting down in there, take your tool, and see how it's got these little spots here?
Okay.
It's got a little bit of Teflon in there, so you ain't got to worry about it hitting. Now watch. You got to watch your fingers down here. So you just kind of slowly drive it down in there.
So it's actually designed, before you take that out, it's actually designed to bottom out right at the point where it has the right depth.
Right. That just drives your bushings. Now the bushing is driven down into place. The bushing is set. So I'll take this bag out, and I'm gonna take my seal. And then, again, numbers at the top. I'm gonna take a little bit of that oil. That's out the pipe. Now, then you're gonna slide your on, feel it, make sure it's nice and smooth going down. Didn't feel no problems, no issues. Take your fingers. Get it set the best you can. That one went down there pretty good. And again, Get your tool. I can push it a little bit down in there with your fingers. Get it started. And slide your driver back on here.
And I noticed the sound changing.
There we go. Sounds pretty solid now. All right. That gets it down in there. Then you just take your clip. Again, you clean it.
Clean off all of the old debris.
There you go. So take your clip. And set your clip down in there. Get a screwdriver. Then you just want to put this down there, make sure it's in the clip. I heard it snap in there.
That's a good sound.
Okay. And then I'm gonna take one more run at this. Make sure where the gap is. I'm centered over that gap. The gap's right there at the front. Just pop it a couple times, make sure that's seated. And I'm going to inspect it. It looks good. Nothing to it. Now, we can set this back up in there in the vise.
You need any Loctite or anything?
No, you don't want to put Loctite because you never get it out again. That's something to be a key thing to talk about, Chris. That's a good point. If you put Loctite up in there, if you put even the blue Loctite that's designed to come out, you're gonna have a hard time getting that joker back out because it does. Those forks do get hot with that oil, and it'll get built up in there. There it goes. I don't remember what the torque spec is. We'll have to look that torque spec.
You want to go look?
Yeah. And then we're gonna.
Is it 15 foot-pounds?
Hold the fork slider and a vise. Yeah, there you go. Ply locking. Oh, it does say ply locking agent to the fork center bolt. Man, you never get that damn thing back out.
15.
And tighten to, yep, 15 foot-pounds. All right.
Is that right?
Yep, 15 foot-pounds.
1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. 1 with the new sealing washer. Tighten. Yep. And fork cap.
I can't believe they tell you. No wonder some of them things don't never come out. Put that stuff on there.
All right, so we found out that the torque setting is, what, 15?
15
15? Okay.
If you see how close that is right there, right? It's right to the top of that hole. Once your axle's in there,
right,
it can't back out.
It can't back out.
It can only go a certain distance. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to fall out on the side of the road or anything. But
and that's the thing about the service manual. They just give you the recommendation.
Right.
You know, some recommendations are good, and sometimes you have to use your own judgment.
Exactly. By all means, though, if you want to put it in, feel free to put that in. I don't want to tell nobody not to do what the service manual says. That's just how I choose to do it. And Chris has seen me tear my bike down to the frame
all the way to the rear.
That bike's got 150,000 miles on it, almost. By the time I get home today, it'll have 150,000. So I ride my stuff all the time.
So before you put that top dust cover back, so as far as this tube is gonna go down to here, that's about deep as it's gonna go.
Yep.
So everything from there down needs to be super smooth.
Right.
Okay.
See, so if you come up here, which you can see right there, well, I don't know if y'all can see in the camera, but right there is where the thing goes. So at full compression, this is how far it would come up at full compression. If you were to hit like a real big chunk hole, which is usually not going to do that.
Right.
Normally, it's going to ride in this area somewhere in there.
Okay.
That's a lot of movement right there.
Okay.
The spacer down in there first.
Okay.
It doesn't matter which way it goes. This is just to sit against the bottom of the spring. There we go.
Flashlight?
Yeah, no, I can see that in there. Just make sure it's not sitting sideways. Then you can put your spring back in, like so. The skinny side down. The compressed, more compressed goes down. It goes down in there. Then, after we'll put that back in a minute. Now, you gotta put your fluid in there first. Okay, now see, it's supposed to hold 16.4 ounces. Each one of these bottles is 16. Now you can see how it's all the way at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't take your measurement yet. So you got to pump this for a little while first. And it's going to suck all that down in there. So if you remember earlier when I was pumping this up and down, you could hear it.
Right.
Making all that weird noise. So you got to do this a few times. Because you want to get all the air bubbles out of that plunger down in there. That's the thing that the screw holds in the bottom, is that little plunger. That's your dampener. SS8 10 weight. So 10 weight is good. That's what the factory manual calls for.
Right.
If you eat a few sandwiches during the daytime, you like to sit at the table a little longer than other
They
folks.
need a thicker weight.
You ride 2 up a lot, you may want to go with a heavier weight. Or if you live on bad roads in Mississippi like I do, with tons of potholes and everything else, you might want to run a little thicker. I put a 15 in mine. Actually, I got a mix of 15 high performance and then 10 weight, just like that. Now you can look down there and see it's all gone. So that was the first part. Now we're gonna put this back in there. So I just put this under 5 psi. It's gonna suck all the extra fluid out, so that's good. Right at what happens is, if you set this right at the top and I draw a vacuum, it's gonna suck it off for 5 inches where there's nothing left down in there. So
Okay.
from the top of the fork tube, fully collapsed.
Right.
It's fully collapsed. You put that in there and you draw. See, with that 16 out, 16.4, it didn't draw very much out.
So basically, you want 5 inches of fluid from the tip top.
Yep. From
And
the top.
so your vacuum pump is sucking it down to the 5-inch
Right.
mark.
So if I could fill it all the way top, it'd draw it all the way down where there wouldn't be nothing left till the 5 inches.
Okay.
You don't got one of these, then you got to measure by volume. But this is the best way to do that. It's at 5 inches. Now, as you can see, this was a little bit more than 5 inches, but it doesn't actually top. It just sits on top of the spring.
Okay.
So once you get this up here, then it sits up at the top. That's why if somebody was looking, wondering, well, he didn't put all the parts in there, it don't touch the 5 inches. So I always do it with this part out.
Okay.
And that's it. Your fork is rebuilt. Now you gotta do is reassemble it with your
You need the cap.
up here. Yeah, hand me that cap. I'm gonna check that O-ring, make sure
Check
it
the
ain't got nothing
O-ring. Make
around
sure
there.
O-ring is good.
Yeah, it's still, it's still good and springy. Draw this up here, and then you gotta push that joker down in there. Not quite.
What you need?
Let me get the wrench. There you go.
Okay.
That is a rebuilt fork. Then you can put your dust seal in there.
Now, is this one here final on the
That's it, yeah.
torqueness? Okay.
Yeah. Now you can torque it. There is a torque spec on that, so you can come back in and torque it. Now the hard part with torquing that, you either do it with it in the bike or you can put it in a vise and put some on there. But you can, I mean, everybody knows how to torque. I think it's, we can look up that torque spec, what that is. But then, you just get that, put your dust seal on like you normally do. And I like to stand on it a little bit. Oh yeah. There we go. You gotta push that down in there pretty good.
Okay.
go. Nothing leaking out the bottom. Nothing leaking out the top.
Nothing leaking out the top. Okay.
So we are good to go. This is why you want to have a mechanic you trust, somebody doing something that you trust, that not only knows how to do a job, but when they make a mistake, they admit it and come back. Some people would just left it the way it was, not worried about it. But if y'all noticed earlier, I put the washer in first, and then I put the spring, so now we got to get that washer back out. Now, to do this without draining out all our oil and having to remeasure, we're going to take a telescopic magnet, and I think that's going to reach down in there. Should grab that washer out. That's why it pays to have some good tools like this. There we go. Now, we'll reassemble it correctly.
Put back the spring.
Put back the spring.
And we're going to put the
Then,
washer on top.
Put your washer with the flat side up. Again, this is just like the other ones. It's got kind of a bevel side or whatever. So put the flat side up on top of that spring. Put your spacer back in. Yeah, there wasn't nothing to that to fix it. But some people would never admit their mistake.
That's why it's good to have a mechanic you can trust.
And they would just leave it thinking, because really it may not do nothing. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But it's not right.
But why take the chance?
Exactly. So, and you saw it took, what, a minute to fix that. But some people that are unscrupulous would leave it as is.
Unscrupulous. That's the word of the day. Unscrupulous.
Unscrupulous. There we go. Now, we just got to torque these a little bit. I usually just get them tight and I put them up, and I think they're 14 foot-pounds too, something like that.
Yeah.
You can either do it in the bike. If you do it in the bike, now here's the thing, you got to have everything moved out the way. It's kind of hard. Or you take and wrap them like this with some rags, and you can put them in a bench vise instead of holding. And you got to hold real tight, and then just give you a little click, and that's it.